Relationships are important to learning because students have to feel safe and comfortable in your classroom. Biologically, when humans feel threatened or in danger, their amygdala hijacks the thinking brain or the prefrontal cortex. When this happens, no long-term retention or learning can take place.
Before I can actually teach that person or get that student to trust me, I actually have to get to know them. Not as this person on my roster, not as their sibling, not as their parent, and I work with a lot of their parents and or I know them from our small community. I have to actually know them. I can use all those reference points to start the conversation, right? But then I actually have to befriend them. It's not really all that complicated. It's like making friends with anyone.
Without relationships, your learning doesn't mean anything at any level. If we're in kindergarten and I am still afraid of the consequences, I don't know what my day is gonna look like, there's a fear of the people around me not accepting me, all the way to the high school level of I'm not sure where I'm going, I don't have people in my life that I can trust. Without that built-in relationship, the learning doesn't mean anything. One thing that we focus on here is absence of threat, making sure that every student knows when they walk in, today is going to be an awesome day and we're ready to go right away. Just making sure that your learners are ready to go, engaged, they put their whole heart into the community. Whatever learning happens at that point is much deeper and much better than what you would get in a traditional, I sat at my desk and I read the chapter today.
I think a lot of times teachers work really, really hard on creating relationships. And I think that's awesome because that means their heart is in the right spot and they know relationships are important. But it doesn't have to be hard. I think, the small things are really important and have a huge impact. So, for me, I use that morning time at the door. The class might be in chaos, but each kid's welcomed in and greeted. And, I think walking to related arts, asking the kid who might be a little challenging that day to come walk next to you and you ask them, how was soccer practice last night? And taking that time to be intentional and to get to know your students is really important. Another way I build relationships in the classroom is just allowing students to get to know me. I think as adults, we often forget that kids want to know who we are too. And so I try to think often that it's not a one-sided relationship, that's not a relationship. And so when I ask them questions, I'll give them, things that I like to do, hobbies and interests or dislikes. I'll show them pictures of my family and my dogs, and I share what I do over the weekend so that they know that they're invited into my story and into my life just as much as I am asking to be invited into theirs.
As the teacher, it's my job to meet that student. We do things like home visits, early community circles, get to know me projects early on, and then to take that sense of self that they have and help them to broach that in front of the community. Making time for those relationships. One thing that our school does better than anybody is making that natural in the learning. So when students are presenting, we're getting an idea of who you are, where you're coming from, allowing students to share those perspectives in their work. We're not moving worksheet to worksheet with this very rogue, very scripted curriculum. Teachers are building in that time to talk about the life skills, the lifelong guidelines, and to make sure that those student voices are heard all the way through the lesson.
Connecting is not necessarily one person to many people. Every connection is one-to-one. One of the things I think is really important as well, though, is going to outside school events. At the high school, you have an opportunity to attend a lot more of their extracurriculars. I think it's important that the basketball players see me at a basketball match. I think it's really important that I attend one of the musicals, right? I think it's really important that I try to make it to what I can, right? I mean, I've got a family, I've got outside school responsibilities, but to make it to those events that students also place a lot of worth on.
My biggest advice is just take the time to be intentional and use every minute, every day to be engaged with your students.